This is Mike Franklin, the property tax guy, and today I'm going to talk about Tompkins County, down by Ithaca. And I had three cases there. I think a couple in Dryden and one in the town of Ithaca. And just wanted to relay my experiences with the assessor. Tompkins County is unique because they there's only one assessor for the entire county. I can't think of another county that does that. So they have a guy named Jay Franklin is the head of the assessment for the county, and he has a bunch of people working for him, and they're very proud of the fact that they claim that they've been at 100% since 2008, which is kind of weird because one of my clients' properties was the assessment was the same for 7 years in a row, and then again for 4 years in a row. And so I don't know how that's possible, but I had three cases with them, and let's see, two of them were with one deputy assessor, and then one other was with another. And my experience is that they just pin purchase prices, and they think that that's keeping it at 100%. So in the first case, they raised these people's assessment from 675 to 865 in 1 year, and their the inventory that they collected was just completely wrong. And so when I confront that in the hearing, they say, well, it doesn't really matter. We don't use that. So what they're saying is that they go around and collect inventory from like 26,000 out of 35,000 properties that they said they did last year, but that they don't use the data that they collected. So they don't use a cost valuation report that they say, and because if you look at the cost valuation report, the data is wrong all over the place. They don't know condition. They're constantly wrong on grade. They apparently haven't read the New York State Assessor's Manual to know what classification these things, the grades are. And so, for example, I had a contemporary property, very nice property, but they classified it as excellent, and that classification is for pretty major properties, not just for a contemporary, even though it's a very nice contemporary. They're giving me the impression that they think that the classifications are relative to the particular market they're in. And that simply isn't the case. The assessor's manual doesn't say anything about that. And basically the assessor's manual tells you the features that it must have. So features aren't relative. It's just either it has the features or it doesn't have the feature. So when they get a grade wrong, it throws off their entire comparable analysis because they're comparing properties. I had one, they had it classified as normal condition. It was actually in fair condition, and they're comparing it to properties that are in good condition. And there's a big swing between fair and good. I mean, a big time difference. Fair would be a property that needs a new roof and needs windows and needs, just a complete rehab of the entire property. And good is if it's like a brand new property, maybe three to 5 years old, still in really good condition. A minimal amount of depreciation because it's still pretty new. And that's a big difference between a house that needs nothing and a house that needs everything. And so when you compare a house that needs everything to a house that needs nothing, they're not comparable, and it's just kind of ridiculous. But any argument that I made, they had an answer for it. For example, the one property the previous year had been assessed at 323. Now they had it assessed at what was it, 486, I think it was. And so I asked them, okay, you were at 100% last year, yes. You're at 100% this year, yes. You're presumed to be correct last year, yes. And you're presumed to be correct this year. And you're saying that last year was 323 and now it's 486. So you're saying that it increased 44%. And so you're saying the market conditions increased 44% because There was no renovations done to the property. There were no improvements to the property. It did nothing but deteriorate, and they increased it $142,000, 44%, when the overall market increased 12.6%. And so I had a bunch of pictures, and I led them through the pictures, and I asked him, do you think that this is normal condition? He says yes. And it's like, are we looking at the same pictures? And it just deny. They're always right. They're never wrong. There's no way he could have seen the condition of the property, because this property is off the road, and they can't trespass on the property. And so they would have no way of knowing what condition the property was in. So when I show them pictures of the property, they go, well, that's the exterior. We want interior, it's overall, normal condition. So we don't know what's on the inside. So they're kind of insisting that we show them the inside of people's properties. Now, I don't know if they get it, but your home is your castle. It's called the castle doctrine. And the government has no business invading your privacy for cost accounting purposes. It's ridiculous. And but that's what they insist. They don't want us going in their house, but they want to come in your house. So I just told the hearing officer, I think that you can extrapolate from what the exterior condition is, and you make some assumptions about the interior. Okay, so if the exterior is basically ramshackle, what do you think? The interior is pristine? It's ridiculous. And so and I try to get to admit that they weren't aware of what the condition was. They won't admit it, even though there's no way that they would know. And it's just deny. These people do not seem to understand that they work for the taxpayers. They have no idea that they work for the taxpayers. They have no concern about taxpayers' privacy. They could care less. And so like I said, their inventories are, they get the condition wrong, they got the grade wrong, there's a patio, all the concrete is all cracked and needs to be completely redone. He said that was in good condition. It's just unbelievable. And so whenever there's a sale price, they just pin that, and the rest of the properties, they have no idea what's going on with the rest of the properties. So on one property, it was assessed the previous year at $881. It sold for $1.735 million. So they assessed it at 1.7. What they're saying is that because it sold past valuation date, they made a little backward adjustment, brought it to 1.7 million. So I said, okay, you're at 100% last year, and you're at 100% this year. But last year you were at 881, and this year you're at 1.7. So were you incorrect last year, or are you incorrect this year, or are both? No, we were right both years, they say. And the hearing officer got mad at me for laughing, but I couldn't help myself. So he says that they were correct last year at 881, and they're correct again this year. So I think what was that, a 96% increase, and so they're saying the market doubled in a year. They'd be paid 1.735 million for the property. So we know what the property's worth, for the most part. One sale does not make a market, but it gives you an idea that it was worth it to the buyer. I don't know if they were under any pressure to do it, but I never argued that it wasn't worth 1.7 million. What I argued is that I looked at all the properties that sold for over $1 million, and they were all the same way. The previous assessment to when it sold was substantially lower than the sales price on all of them, which means they didn't have any of the assessments right on any of the properties that sold. So they pinned the purchase price as assessment on the ones that sold, but what did they do with the properties that didn't sell? And so they're wrong on condition routinely. They're wrong on grade routinely. Their inventories are perpetually wrong. Then they say they don't use the inventory, even though they spend all this time, collecting it. And they use a comparable sales report. And their comparable sales report has the subject and usually 4 or 5 comparables. But it doesn't show any adjustments on how this property comes to here, like they do in an appraisal. They just give a number. That's the number. And the burden of proof is on the taxpayer. They are presumed to be correct. But it doesn't demonstrate how they came to that conclusion. What is the formula? What is the adjustment between good and normal condition? What's the adjustment between good and excellent, or normal and good? And they don't want you to know that. So it's just a case of hide the ball, smoke and mirrors. They pin the purchase price. The whole thing is designed to make their job as easy as possible. And getting it right doesn't seem to have anything to do with it. From my observation, it's and up to this year, they had denied my Freedom of Information Act request. So I appealed their denial to their county attorney, and I provided them the case law. The city of Syracuse played that game with me, and I had to sue them, and I prevailed. And so now they provided me the stuff, but they delayed it until after bar. And then in the SCAR hearing, they said, well, he didn't make that argument at bar. Well, for one thing, SCAR cases are de novo. So what happened at bar is irrelevant, number one. Number two, I didn't make that argument because you didn't give me the data you're supposed to give me that I'm entitled to by law. And I asked for the cost valuation report, the comparable sales report, the comparable assessment report, and the subject property inventory summary, and the land tables. They didn't give me the land tables. They gave me a comparable sales report from last year, and I guess I have to spell it out. I want a comparable sales report run from the tentative roll from 2024. So they're just playing games. And what else didn't they give me? Then on the comparable assessment report, they said, "Oh, well, we don't use that," and it's just they gave us the default state report. It's it's not accurate. And so here's the funny thing is, they're and this $1.7 million property, their cost valuation report said $918,000, and then their comparable assessment report said 1.213. And then of course their comparable sales report, they cut off the bottom, so you don't even know what date the report was run, and they cut off some figures they say are irrelevant, but I think the hearing officer can be the judge of that. So they manipulated a report to mislead the court, which is it's if I were the hearing officer, I would have a serious problem with them. And but that's what they do. They manipulate the reports, and then it generates a figure, which just happened to be the figure that they probably pulled out of a hat. Basically, so it was their agenda, their intuition. So I'm guessing they spent about 2 or 3 minutes on evaluation of this property. They just kind of eyeball it. Oh, whoa, geez, it sold for 1.735 in August. Okay, 1.7. But they didn't do anything to the properties that didn't sell. So the people who bought properties recently are at 100%. But the people who didn't buy who didn't buy recently, been there for a long time, they're not at 100%. And that's kind of the definition of unequal. And so it's not excessive, because obviously that's what he paid for it. We wouldn't have there might be an argument for excessive, but it doesn't seem like it's very strong. But they definitely have a strong unequal argument, because it's obvious what they did. It's what lazy assessors do. They pin purchase prices. They are required by law to value all the properties, and it's pretty clear they didn't do that. And like I said, all the sales over $1 million, they were all wrong, every single one of them. And So it's not like one was wrong here and one was wrong there. They were all wrong, every one of them. And so I don't think that they can be presumed to be correct. We'll see what the hearing officer has to say about it on that particular property. And yeah, on all three properties, they raised it like 28%, 44%, 96%. And I just don't know where they're getting this. None of those properties had an improvement. None of those properties had a renovation, and then they raise them, up those percentage. So I got to tell you, there's a lot of bluster from Tompkins County, claiming that they're doing everything right, but I'm just not seeing it. They pin purchase prices. That's what they do. And they're not keeping on top of the inventory. I know it's a difficult thing to do, but you need to make an effort, and it's pretty clear they didn't. They said, well, there's just been recent sales that have been over $1 million ones in the past. I had sales going back 3.5 years, and they were all wrong. So I don't think Tompkins County assessors can be presumed to be correct because on every single case that I dealt with, they were incorrect. Now the hearing officer will make his determination on one of them. I did get a decision on one of them. He split the baby, and I disagree with it on that one because I think that one was such an obvious case of condition. It was just so obvious that he lowered it around $50,000. So basically, we were arguing about $100,000, and he kind of split it in the middle, and it's better than nothing. It's better than a stick in the eye. But I just don't. I just think I think our argument was reasonable. What we asked to do was take last year's assessment and apply the 12.6%. Our argument was, how much would it cost to get this thing to normal condition? They have it classified as normal. It's not in normal condition. It's in fair condition. What would it cost to get to normal condition? Needs a roof, needs windows, needs skylights, needs a roof on the garage. The patio needs to be redone. It's bad. The decks need to be redone. The basement has got all kinds of water damage, needs to be cleaned out. Probably need to put some garage doors on the garage. They're 1968, I believe. And there's probably things that need to be done in the interior. One of the bathrooms isn't 100% functional. Need to get that functional. Probably need some paint, so on and so forth. Probably need some updating of the kitchen and the bathrooms. And I'm going to say be $150,000 easy to do that. So, would you apply the exact cost, from the assessment? But probably not. But something reasonable. I think it's a perfectly valid argument. If the assessor gets the condition wrong, the argument is to what is it going to cost to get it to what they're saying that it is, and that was the argument. He kind of split the baby on that one. I don't know if it's if he's trying to keep everybody happy or what the mindset was. I disagree with that one, but at least he was hearing the argument, and he didn't give the taxpayer nothing. Giving the taxpayer nothing in that situation would be absolutely outrageous, and he didn't do that. So, so I'm not gonna complain about it. I disagree. I think they should have gotten more, but there you have it on that one. So anyway, that's Tompkins County. The biggest issue is they're wrong a lot, and they won't admit it. When we see the photos of the condition, just have some integrity and say, you know what, we didn't have an opportunity to get in there and see all these things. It's pretty apparent that we misclassified the condition, and so we'd be willing to make an adjustment. but they didn't do that. That would be the honest thing to do. You know, their function is to get this right for everybody. And, you know, as soon as they see, you know, that that's wrong, they should have had some integrity and made an adjustment without having to fight over this. You know, they work for the taxpayers. They just don't seem to get it. It's really disappointing that the people in government we have working for us seem to be working against us, and they seem to think that they work for each other, not for the taxpayer. And it's just plain wrong. So I'm going to give the Tompkins County Assessor, I'm going to give him a C minus. I would say that's I'd say the C minus is fair. If they would own up to their errors, you know, I'd probably move that up a little bit. But they're not doing that. I understand it's a difficult job, and so I don't begrudge them, but you know, they have to have some integrity to what they're doing. And my observation is they're not responding to FOIL timely and in full, and they won't admit when they're wrong. And so that's it for Tompkins County Assessor. This is Mike Franklin, the Property Tax Guy, thepropertytaxguy.com. Thank you very much.